Joining us now from Canucks Conversation, Canucks Army, Wednesday regular, the one and only Christopher Faber. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Excellent night last night. I got to watch
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Stevich, got to watch Abbotsford, got to watch Vancouver, and wins all across the board. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
So let's just recap though. You just got married, and here you are sitting down in front of the television on a Tuesday in October for how long? While the missus is just wondering if she gets her husband back anytime soon. How's that going over?
Yeah, whatever clip that comes out of this interview that you guys post will not be as good as me telling my wife that I'm going to Abbotsford tonight. That clip would have been that would have got some views. I'll tell you that. But yeah, she loves it. She's she's on board. I guess maybe she
must be. Is she a hockey fan?
No, she's from the Maritimes, so she grew up with like some QMJHL hockey and some OHL hockey that they watched out there. But she's a fan of like the personalities on the Canucks.
Okay.
I think she's the thing is she knows so much about prospects because of whatever I'm watching or whatever I'm telling her. Like she might be a guest for you guys in the future.
Yeah, right.
If you're ever sick, we want her. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. We'll start with our Bodog poll question today. He scores his first goal as a Vancouver Canuck, but that hasn't told nearly the story of Phil Giuseppe and what he has meant to this hockey club through 6 games. We're asking, is Giuseppe giving you Alex Burrows vibes, Chris?
I mean, he's got a lot of skill, right? I think that's something that people forget about Phil Giuseppe. He scored the goal of the year in the AHL a couple years ago. He scored a between the legs, beautiful goal to win AHL goal of the year. He was a guy that, for a lot of people, when he was signed, they looked at him as that quad A type of player, but he's been able to make the adjustments to his game that a guy like Reed Boucher was never able to make. And I think you can see that in the way that he works and the way that he fits into a top 6 line. There are some similar vibes for sure about a player knowing their role in a top 6 line. It's not like you're going to be the guy scoring 40 goals, but you can be the guy playing with the player who scores 40 goals. And I think from that way, you're getting some vibes from Alex Burrows. I don't know if it's going to be ultimately at the same level, but the vibes, they're on the same kind of wavelength, at least anyways.
It's unbelievable when you look at Phil Giuseppe's resume. Like, he hasn't come close to a point per game since the OJHL, like back in 2010, 2011, when he had 63 points in 49 games. But even in college, third year of college, guys, he's nowhere close to a point per game. And generally, when you see stories like this, Faber, as you well know, it's a guy that has been a sniper in his past. He's had a lot of offense and was forced into a role player, as he became a professional. That's not even really the case from Phil Giuseppe. He's always been a half point per game guy throughout his entire career.
Yeah, and I think the thing that he did well at the NHL with this stint with the Rangers was kill penalties. That was the thing that he did extremely well with the Rangers and got him into the lineup. And now he's doing something to get into the lineup that the coach really likes. And to me, that's, I said this on Rinkwide with Jeff on the weekend. It feels like that line is kind of like a volleyball return. Like it's bump, set, spike. And it feels like Phil Giuseppe needs to be the bump. Whoever can be the set and the other guy can be the spike between JT Miller and Brock Besser. But every single shift, Phil Giuseppe needs to be the bump. He needs to be the guy who's in the corners, getting the puck and working harder than everyone on the ice. I think that that's something that's interesting is because he's got this confidence from the coach, and you guys know this. How often do we hear from Rick talking about how much he really loves Phil Giuseppe? And it's not like, PDG isn't the drop the gloves type of player that Rick Tocchet was back in the day, but I think he sees something in the way that this guy works. But to me, he also has a little bit of that skill to back it up. And maybe that comes from developing in the AHL and playing in a top 6 role every single time that he was in the AHL. Like, this is what we're talking about when you're talking about developing in the AHL and developing in a league that has a little bit lesser quality of player. He was able to see how he could fit into that role. He could see what he did that worked in the AHL level in a top line role that worked. And it doesn't happen to every player, right? Not every top line AHLer is going to get that shot. But now that he's gotten the shot in the NHL, he's doing everything to keep that job right now.
Nils Höglander, he gets a goal last night. He's up to 4 points, Chris. And of course, upon a return to the lineup after a healthy scratch. Do you see more healthy scratches coming? And are they a better team when it's Höglander somewhere in the bottom 6 as opposed to the other options?
I think so. I think that not only does Nils Höglander provide a lot on the fourth line from the way that his game has adjusted over the past couple of years, but to me, if there's a night where Brock Besser isn't playing well, or a night where Andrei Kuzmenko is going to be getting 3 shifts in the third period, Nils Höglander can give you a little bit of a spark into that top 6. I really think that that's the difference between him and Jack Studnicka. You feel a lot better about Nils Höglander playing on Elias Pettersson's wing than you do with somebody else like that. So I think though he's a bottom 6 player, He still needs to adjust to that role a little bit, and I think he's done a good job this season compared to what we've seen in the past. And some of that, again, to harp back on it, comes from the things that he developed in the AHL, right? Making a little bit better decision-making around his own blue line and these type of things. He's still not perfect, for sure, but at least he's building enough, and he built enough last year to go into this year and think, okay, he can play a bottom six role. It doesn't have to be top six or bust for him. And the thing that I still like about that is, though he's going to be in the bottom six, man, if you need a spark, you can try it. Like, there was a couple shifts where they were kind of between line changes last night, and we're watching Nils Höglander play with Elias Pettersson, and I know Pettersson's like at the end of his shift or whatever it may be, but then here comes this firecracker of Nils Höglander flying into the boards and extending offensive zone possessions, helping the team get a line change in. Like, I just think that the energy this kid has, if Rick Tocchet and the rest of this coaching staff is able to kind of mold him into what they want from a bottom six player, and then he has the skill in the back pocket that he's had throughout his whole NHL and really hockey career, from what we've seen in the SHL and the ridiculous goals he used to score there. If you back pocket that skill, but kind of front facing, give you a bottom six player who works as hard as Nils Höglander does, I don't think this guy should be coming out of the lineup at all. I think he's a fit in an NHL lineup, and I think a lot of teams would take what he's bringing on a nightly basis to a bottom six.
I mean, it feels like they're just trying to raise the floor on him, right? Because as opposed to a guy like Stadnyka, who they might trust a little bit more, there's just the potential for more offensively, for more positive ground when Nils Höglander's in there. It's just a more skilled lineup. Back to the original question, are they a better team? They're just more skilled. Now, can he make more mistakes than Stadnyka? Certainly in the past that's been the case, but if they can limit that, they are just a better team when he's there versus a guy like Stadnyka, right?
Yeah, simply. And I think that's the interesting thing. It's like Stadnyka can give you a little bit on the penalty kill. Nils Höglander doesn't do that. He's not really getting much time on the second power play. And I think we've seen a little bit of time on the second power play unit, but to me, it's more about the 5-on-5 play right now for him. And I think he's been a guy who is just doing more. Like, he's doing more in the offensive zone. He does these things where he's able to, you know, he's got a real strong stick. He's got that lower body that's also extremely, he's a strong guy from the.
He's a buzzsaw. Yeah.
And he's difficult to deal with, right? Like, I think with Stadnyka, you know what he is, and there's times where he has good games, but if you can get to the level of consistency a little bit higher with Nils Höglander, I think you've just got a better player there in the end. And he's a guy that I really like to watch grow under Rick Tocchet, because, man, if you can get this guy to be giving you that energy on a nightly basis, and then he understands as the player, okay, my energy level has to be like this every game. If he can stay there, he's going to be fine. Like, the decision-making and the troubles that he's had at the NHL level, you can make mistakes. Every player does. Players make mistakes in every single game. But if your energy level is that high and you're able to make up for it, a lot of the time you'll be able to stick in the lineup just because of that energy.
What did you make of the game last night?
Thought it was pretty good. That second period was, probably the best period, I think, of the season for them. And, that's kind of throwing the 8-1 game aside. That was a shellacking. And I don't think that we even saw that many kind of solid play throughout the whole 20 minutes of those periods. But I think that second period where they ended up outshooting them 15-5, I think it was, that was the way this team needs to play. They were able to move the puck out of their own zone. They were able to limit Nashville being able to exit the zone. And it was a lot of the things that we heard them talking about not just allowing teams to gain your zone, put some pressure on them in the neutral zone and force them to make good passes, but not just like one good pass, like two good passes to gain possession in an offensive zone. They limited that. They forced Nashville to try and be a little bit more of a dump and chase team. And their defense did a good job of breaking out the puck pretty quickly. And a lot of that was on Quinn Hughes and Filip Hronek. I thought they were both excellent in that game last night. And that pairing just continues to look like, at the start of the season, I know people were ripping my co-host Quadrelli when he was saying that, like, this could be one of the top pairings in the NHL. Like, the stats don't lie, man. They've been one of the best pairings in the NHL up to this point in the season. And last night I thought was just a masterclass of how to break the puck out and how to create offense in the offensive zone with movement, with the ability to trust that you can get some offense from your defenseman. All in all, it felt like a great game, and Thatcher Demko kind of locked it down in the third period. And not like he was completely under pressure for that final 20 minutes, but he was good enough to take a 1-goal lead into that third period and feel confident enough to kind of blend it into a win at the end of the game.
And that's a great point, Chris, because here we are discussing a 3-2 win. A famous coach once said it's a 3-2 league, right, Blake? It's no longer coaching in the NHL, but
thankfully.
Daryl Sutter, it's a 3-2 league. Talked about this with Jeff last night. This morning, looked it up. They had one 3-2 regulation win all of last year, and it came in the final week of the season against Anaheim. Now they had 3 overtime and 2 shootout, 3-2 wins, but
It was a 5-1 league last year.
well, it's a 5-1 team last year. Sadly, there weren't many 5-1 victories to offset all the 5-1 losses. But we're talking about a Canucks win forged on defensive play, and we're not talking about a spectacular goaltending performance. And for me, that's about as much progress as you can hand Rick Tocchet style hockey.
Well, but as far as the pairing is concerned too, I mean, for a lot of it, it wasn't so much how great defensively they were playing in terms of Roenick and Hughes guys. Like they could have played Sweet Georgia Brown at times, the way that those two were playing with the puck, and it was sort of Sedin like in that if we've got the puck, you don't. And Hughes and Roenick were just so fun to watch on a few shifts there, where they were just, it was behind the back. It was unbelievable. It was great to watch.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing I like about that pairing is because both players now, and I think this more than any other season we've seen from Quinn Hughes, is he trusts his shot. And Philip Roenick, I think we're very obvious, we've seen in these games, he definitely trusts his shot as well. So when you come in and Hughes is on the left side and Hronik's on the right, and Hughes has the puck on that left side, okay, he can go down because he trusts his speed. He can beat forwards into the corner and make a play from there. Or the two have been swapping a lot, right, to get the one-timer opportunity.
That's right.
Like when you have the puck on Quinn Hughes' stick and now you give him 3 options with the puck, like in the offensive zone, I'm going to bet that like 90% of the time he's going to make a correct decision there. And I think that's what's happening for them in the offensive zone is long offensive possessions with those two on the ice. And hey, that makes defense pretty easy when you have the puck, 180 feet away from your own net. Like that's what I think is making that pairing look so good. Yes, the defense has been solid. They're good at breaking the puck out. But I think to your point, Blake, I think you're bang on with it. Like a lot of that pairing's good looks through the start of the season are coming from how well they're playing in the offensive zone. It just helps everything when you have the puck away from your own net.
The discussion on Nils Höglander never strays that far away from the discussion of Vasily Podkolzin, because the two have been in a similar roster position at the very least in terms of, trying to get into the top 12 or 13 of the Vancouver Canucks at any given moment. Höglander's got the upper hand right now, playing well at the NHL level. But Vasily's trying to stake his claim, isn't he? I mean, a hell of a goal last night, and he's a goal per game through 5. Might we see the Russian? I don't think anybody needs to jump up and down and demand him now, but he's at least off to a great start where we might be able to demand him or, not be scared to see him if he does make an appearance in December or January.
Yeah, it might take, throwing him a bone a little bit for a couple of games here and there, but I really think this season's got to be focused on development with him. He's still on his entry-level contract. And yeah, the 5 goals have been excellent. I mean, he's scored 2 absolute bombs of one-timers over the weekend from the right half wall, looking like Elias Pettersson in the AHL. And then what we saw last night, Blake, you bring up the goal yesterday, overtime with 1 second left in overtime to win the game for the Abbotsford Canucks. And it's exactly what you want from Vasily Podkolzin. It's exactly what I saw him doing in the playoffs in the KHL his final year when he was ripping up that league and being the best player in the KHL playoffs. It's going to the net strong, and it's the things that when he was drafted, we knew that he was a power forward type-ish player, but not necessarily just like a big hulking guy. He was more of the new age power forward. So when you see a goal like last night's where puts the shoulder down, is able to go around a defenseman and then go straight to the net and still get an accurate shot off to score a goal, like that's all you could ask for him. And I think that's what we love to see in the AHL is that, along with him shooting the puck a ton with the confidence. I know last time I checked before yesterday's game, but he was 5th in the AHL for shots on net. That's through the whole league. And that's just what you love to see from a guy who down there, and I think I said this on the show, to me, I think the coaching staff, the players around him, management, they look at Vasily Podkolzin a little bit kind of head and shoulders above everyone, right? In that AHL team, let's be, he's a 10th overall pick. He's still very young. They know he's going to be an NHLer. He's got to just be the head and shoulders player above the rest of these guys in this league. And man, 5 games in, he's got 5 goals. He's been excellent. And it's not just the goals. It's the confidence on the forecheck. It's a different player to watch him in the AHL because he knows he's going to get the puck. When he goes into a corner, he's getting the puck. Like he just has that thought process in his mind when he's at the AHL level. It's similar to what I saw in Russia, again, to bring this up, but like when he was in the minors in Russia, the VHL, it was the same thing. He's getting the top line minutes. He's playing with so much confidence. The question is, how do you transfer that? Because it didn't transfer over from the VHL to the KHL a lot when he was there. The question now is, okay, well, this should be on the Canucks development staff to transfer that confidence that we're seeing from him in the AHL. Like, you're a very good player, Vasily. Like, you can do this at the NHL level
every night.
Yeah.
Every night in the AHL. And then
Absolutely. And great to hear they're still brimming with confidence about him being an NHL player, because I know a lot of fans were getting worried after watching the preseason here with the big Canucks. Beyond Podkolzin, boy, Abby's played some high event hockey here. A thrilling victory last night. Chris Tolopilo again. Give me your assessment of the baby Canucks.
Yeah, I'll start with Tolopilo because he's been unreal to start this season. I know that a lot of people were very excited about Artur Silovs and the World Championships that he had, but after giving up 7 goals on Saturday night, they decided to go with Nikita Tolopilo last night in Abbotsford, and he won them that game. The Abbotsford Canucks weren't playing great yesterday on Tuesday night, but the goaltender was able to, get them a win, get them to overtime, and then let Vasily Podkolzin take it from there, who scored the overtime winner. Tolopilo is going to excite a lot of people. And just hearing from people that are, that were at the rink last night, I'm seeing them in my replies. I'm getting messages, and they're like, "Wow, this kid moves extremely well. He's got a lot of confidence, and he's, kind of helps that he's 6'6" and an absolute monster in the pipes." Like, I think that he's one to watch for sure. But the Abbotsford team's been great. I really think that top pairing of Christian Wolanin and Jet Wu is going to be players that are playing at the NHL at some point this season. Whatever they start to shuffle the Canucks pairings at the NHL level, I really think Wolanin's got to get back up here and get a shot. I know we had him on the show earlier this week, and he wasn't exactly ecstatic about his play in the preseason. He thinks he can bring more. And that pairing right now, the way that Christian Wolanin talked about it, was they want to be an NHL pairing playing in the AHL. That's what they want to do. And if you didn't see the clip, it's a great clip that we put out there of Wolanin talking about, like, yeah, they all want the AHL team to be great, and they want to continue to, win and push for a Calder Cup. But when he was actually honest about it, he's like, they all want to be in the NHL, right? Like, they want to prove that they can be in the NHL, but they're rooting for each other. It's like a culture that's being built out there in Abbotsford. It's why I love covering this Abbotsford team. They're doing everything right. It feels like they have a great coach there in Jeremy Carlton. They have one of the youngest rosters in the AHL. They're going with defensemen who are 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
They're doing everything right. It's a fun team for me as a reporter to cover, because I don't really look at what they're doing and think, I don't know about this. Like, you could say, is Ratu on the fourth line? Like, that's the one thing you could probably question, right? Like, that's the only thing with this roster that you're like, I don't know about that. Everything else has been perfect for.
But even their journeyman, like Wolanin, like I do think he's better than Quad A. Like he's got a lot of hallmarks of a Quad A player, but it does feel like he's better than that. Even he's too good for the AHL. So I agree. I wouldn't mind. If they have the revolving door of 6th, 7th defenseman here, I wouldn't mind seeing him again as one of those guys, see if he can do it.
Yeah, one thing that I'll bring this up with the team they played last night with the Colorado Eagles, the Colorado Avalanche minor league team. Who's the guy eating up all the minutes for them? It's Brad Hunt.
Right.
You know what Brad Hunt is, and
Yeah.
Christian Wolanin's much younger than him as well. So that kind of player that you mentioned there, like, it's not a 34-year-old defenseman. It's a 27, 28-year-old guy. And that's like your Quad A-ish type player with Christian Wolanin, who I do think is going to play NHL games at some point this season.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lastly, Chris, your Canucks prospect of the week. Where are we going, buddy?
Well, Hunter Brustevich did have 8 points this past week in the 4 games that he played, but we're not going to go with Hunter. Hunter Brustevich is great. He's got a 10-game point streak. He's not my guy. He's not my guy this week. We're going overseas. We're going with Jonathan Lekkerimäki, who scored 2 goals in his 2 SHL games this past week. I know he added an assist as well. The first goal he scored has about the width of a puck type hole, and he puts his right through it. Like, it was an excellent goal to see him score that. Then he ends up scoring another big goal. Something I've noticed here with Lekkerimäki as well is a lot of game-winning goals, a lot of game-tying goals. He's stepping up in the clutch, and I posted about a minute and a half that I kind of clipped from one of his games the other day. He's starting to hit. He's starting to forecheck. He's starting to do all these other things because the confidence seems to be building from the goals. Obviously, he's leading the SHL in goals. He's got the tie for the lead right now. But now it's like, okay, I can score at this level. Now I can forecheck. Now I can hit. These other parts that we didn't see at all last season in the Allsvenskan, to just be frank with you, you didn't see him throwing hits. You didn't see him forechecking well. This year, it's like watching a different player. Like, I know that there was a lot of excuses last year. They are starting to sound like legitimate excuses now with mono and a concussion and a foot injury that kept him out 5 weeks. Like, they are starting to look like excuses at this point instead of just talking points about a guy who didn't have a great year last year.
Yeah.
Jonathan Lekkerimäki, my prospect of the week, with 2 goals and 1 assist in the SHL.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks for this, Chris. We will catch up next Wednesday.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
You too.
This Sekeres and Price clip brought to you by Applewood Auto Group. And remember,
It's all good at Applewood.